evening and welcome to the Buck Stops here. It's being called a major breakthrough, even a paradigm shift of some kind in the way that India and Pakistan hope to engage with each other going forward. From a complete collapse of talks between Delhi and Islamabad last August over India's protests against Pakistani diplomats meeting the Hurriyat in Delhi to accelerated engagement in the coming months, beginning with NSA talks next month. To top it off, a joint press conference by the two foreign secretaries. Will the new experiment work? A departure from the norm was this morning's press conference. What has changed for the Modi government to warrant such developments today? How will the Prime Minister explain the shift in Parliament in the coming session? That's all on the show tonight. But first, my colleague Vishnu Shom reports on this landmark meeting that took place in Ufa in Russia on the sidelines of a multilateral summit, the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization grouping, of which India and Pakistan both became full members today.
The talks were supposed to last about 45 minutes. Instead, they went on for an hour. A regulation press briefing by the Foreign Secretary post the talks was expected at 10 a.m. When it happened more than an hour later, there was a surprise guest.
My name is Azaz Ahmed Chaudhry. I am the Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, for those who don't know.
I think all of them know.
All right, okay.
This would be no ordinary briefing. This was a joint statement of a significant breakthrough, the biggest in years. The immediate goal, de-escalating tensions on the line of control and the international border at a time when cross-border exchanges have become quite frequent, resulting in casualties on both sides. In a joint statement read out by the foreign secretaries, the Director General of the Border Security Force will meet his Pakistani counterpart. The Director Generals of military operations of both sides will meet to discuss the situation on the border. The National Security Advisors will meet to discuss all issues linked to terrorism. There is no direct mention of the contentious issue of Kashmir in the joint statement. India will send Pakistan additional voice samples of terrorist leaders, and fishermen from both sides who have been apprehended will soon be released with their boats. And the engagement between the two leaders will continue as well.
Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif reiterated his invitation to Prime Minister Modi to visit Pakistan for the SAARC summit in 2016. Prime Minister Modi accepted that invitation.
In a hotel not too far away, the Pak Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was confronted by Indian reporters, mics deployed for a quick soundbite. Surprisingly, there wasn't a single Pakistani journalist here.
So one reaction.
Not today.
Just a few weeks back, there was a sense that there wouldn't be a bilateral at all between India and Pakistan. Well, not only has there been a bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Nawaz Sharif, the bilateral is very, very significant and really takes forward the relationship between the two countries. The question is this: will this add impetus to the overall composite dialogue process between the two countries and reduce tension decisively? In Ufa with Narendranath Guravali, Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Well, Vishnu Shom joins us now live from Ufa. Vishnu, everyone's been talking about the breakthrough in today's meeting with India and Pakistan. Going in this morning, nobody anticipated what the outcome would be. In fact, everyone was playing down expectations. Have you been able to glean more information of, how exactly this morning's meeting transpired, what went down, and how did it lead to this remarkable outcome?
Well, Maya, let me tell you this. Now, according to senior Pakistani sources, there was a great deal, the chemistry between Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Narendra Modi helped the process along today. Senior Pakistani sources telling us that in fact it wasn't a process of back-channel talks for a very long period of time. There were back-channel talks, but they weren't extended back-channel talks, as a result of which the decisions which were taken were primarily taken today. So this has most certainly come as a surprise, and what would interest India to a large extent is the fact that in the joint statement made between India and Pakistan, there is no mention of the word Kashmir. Now, throughout the day, we were trying to get an understanding from the Pakistani side about what exactly this meant, since Kashmir is their core concern, which they say needs always to be addressed. And while they did say that, look, all outstanding issues between India and Pakistan will be looked into, they never specifically used the word Kashmir in their answers. Now, this isn't to say that Kashmir is off the charts as far as Pakistan is concerned, far from it. But the fact is, as far as this agreement was concerned, the joint statement doesn't make mention of Kashmir specifically.
Right, Vishnu, thanks very much for joining us with all those details from UFA. We're going to expand this discussion really today because many questions also, as much as this joint statement has been welcomed, several questions about how it came about, even at the political level here. We've been joined by Ajay Kumar, spokesperson from the Congress Party, Chandan Mitra of the BJP. We also have Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, defense analyst, joining us. Sudhindra Kulkarni, commentator and journalist and author, joining us as well. We're hoping to be joined by three voices from Pakistan as well, and of course Barkha in the studio with us. Barkha, I'm going to actually open this up by asking you a question because as you and I both know, in the years of covering India-Pakistan summits and bilateral meetings that we have done on the sidelines of various forums, one has always sort of been tentative about what the outcomes are going to be. There have been some dramatic turns, but going in, one has always had a sense of which way the talks might actually turn.
Yeah.
Today, there was absolutely no inkling of what was coming.
Maya, I think the fact that you and I chose to not report on this, on these talks points to the fact that perhaps we didn't expect much to come of it. I think it also speaks to the fact that the BJP may not concede it, that there's been a very active back channel that has been alive even as the talks seem to have collapsed. At least that's what it seemed overtly. I think a few quick takeaways. To me, what's really striking and unusual is for the foreign secretaries. The same foreign secretaries who stopped talking last year because of the issue of Kashmiri separatists holding a joint briefing. Doesn't usually happen. Usually you see the joint statement going down to the wire and talks unraveling over a comma and a full stop.
And both sides releasing it at the same time separately.
With a completely different spins on it, right? For them to jointly face the cameras, big shift. But the bigger, very interesting shift to me are the new elements of an architecture that I think both countries are using to replace what I believe is a tired old composite dialogue template. The national security advisors are going to meet. But even more interestingly, the Director General military operations of both countries are going to meet. I know that they talk on a hotline every week. I know that in 2013 they met to de-escalate tensions along the line of control. But if DGM was talking, is going to be an institutionalized part of the dialogue framework, Maya, then I think what we are seeing is for the first time direct military to military contact as part of an element in the India-Pakistan talks. And just to remind our viewers, Maya, you would remember this in New York when Dr. Manmohan Singh was still the Prime Minister. This proposal for military to military contact came from Pakistan. India turned it down, arguing that the kind of political authority that Pakistan's military enjoys in Pakistan, the Indian army doesn't have. So it just wouldn't work. Now we seem to be willing to experiment. And that to me is the biggest takeaway, this military to military contact, and finally perhaps engaging with the real power wielders in Pakistan. And finally, Maya, of course, Narendra Modi accepting to go to Pakistan for the SAARC summit. It's a paradox for the BJP to explain. It's a U-turn at the very least. The BJP must have waited for public memory to fade before Prime Minister Modi did a Vajpayee on these talks. But even as you and I may welcome it, will the Prime Minister be able to convince his own online troopers, in particular the trolls who were rallying for General V.K. Singh and saying why was he forced to attend an event at the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi? What are they going to be saying today?
Right, I think that's a question we should actually open our debate with Chandan Mitra, asking him that question. You know, the fact that Barkha is saying, what are the critics and the hawks within the party going to be saying to this? That's one. And if I can just add on to that, if you can explain to us what has shifted for the BJP and the NDA between August last year, when the Foreign Secretary talks were called off, to seeing them sit at the same table. Is it not an acceptance by India that no matter what happens, engagement with Pakistan has to continue at all costs?
Well, I think the BJP all along believed, Mr. Modi particularly, that you have to try and improve ties with Pakistan in a step-by-step and calibrated manner. He began the outreach process by inviting Mr. Nawaz Sharif along with other SAARC leaders for his own swearing in. That was the first step, a step to indicate that India is open for business and let us start a new chapter. And after that we have seen that India at the same time has retained a very tough position when it comes to Pakistan trying to take advantage of this perceived softening on India's part. So when the Hurriyat people were met in Delhi, India called off by.
But Chandan, what's changed? Pakistan is still meeting with the Hurriyat. The Hurriyat was there at that High Commission event. What has changed other than the fact that the BJPs had to acknowledge that that was perhaps a strategic error to make that the basis to draw new red lines? Because what you have done today is actually much more dramatic than restarting the Foreign Secretary dialogue. You have gone much further. So this is in a way what Vajpayee would have done. This is Narendra Modi finally doing a Vajpayee in his approach to Pakistan.
No, they are two very different people. So let us not begin Mr. Vajpayee. Mr. Vajpayee had his own style. Mr. Modi has his own style. So I don't think that comparisons are really required here. I think Mr. Modi was very clear right from the beginning. He wanted to have step by step and calibrated improvement. When Pakistan tried to force the pace and at the same time cock a snook at India and meet the Hurriyat leaders just a day before the Foreign Secretary dialogue, India called it off, saying thus far and no further. And having been made that position clear, and I think Pakistan also got the message that you can't push India too far. Stay within the confines and let's go step by step. And that's exactly what has happened today.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Mitra, the question really is, as you're saying, step-by-step calibrated improvement. From the outside, one is still asking the question, what have been those steps? What is that calibrated improvement? But Ajay Kumar of the Congress, if I can bring you in very quickly on this before we have our Pakistan guest joining us as well. The Congress's response today.
One, Maya, is that I would definitely say that the Bharatiya Janata Party's foreign policy as far as vis-a-vis Pakistan is schizophrenic. On 1st of June, Mrs. Sushma Swaraj says, the foreign minister says that we will not talk to Pakistan till Lakhvi is arrested.
Yeah.
800 violations have happened. 8th and 9th of July, 2 Jawans have been killed. So they say they cancel a talk for Hurriyat, for talking to the Hurriyat, and the BJP, PDP government are talking to the separatists in Kashmir. So the continuous flip-flop, change direction, it's actually pretty disturbing. There is no consistency. One element of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the defense minister, the information broadcasting ministers gets into tutu meh with the defense ministers of Pakistan, at least statements coming across from both sides. And now you see, and then the whole publicity on the joint statement. If you see that the Bharatiya Janata Party is gone, home shouting their voice hoarse.
Ajoy Barkha here. You're right about the schizophrenia. The schizophrenia is between India, Pakistan and BJP's Pakistan policy, but even in the Congress's approach to Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And I say this because today you and the BJP have swapped roles. It's the opposition's character to be strident about Pakistan. It's the government's job to find enough capacity in statecraft to still keep the dialogue alive. I think people.
So let me say that point taken. The issue is the flip-flop. The jingoism, the shouting that 8 sir, 5 sir, 56 inches. Then you stop, you talk, you don't stop, you talk. So the whole thing is actually it's like the theatre of the absurd. That is what is disturbing. And even if you look at the way they have gone about saying that the joint statement, Manmohan Singh and Pervez Musharraf said the same thing in Havana. The foreign minister said the same thing in Pakistan in September 2012. But the BJP's propaganda machine says this is the first time it has happened.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sir, you said that Chandan, you said it's the first time such a statement has come out. That's what everybody is speaking on the TV.
All right, Chandan Mitra and Ajay Kumar, we'll just bring Tariq Azim into this debate as well.
Too quick. 1 minute. If I can
Chandan,
make
very quickly. We've got Tariq Azim waiting on a satellite link.
Yeah, very quickly. First,
I don't want to get involved
definition of terrorism,
which
I think Ajay is talking about, is a major step forward, and also just compare it to Sharm el-Sheikh, please, for heaven's sake.
In fact, at the time of Sharm el-Sheikh, the BJP was making the same comments the Congress is making today about how the government
Chandan, 10 years of reduction in violence in Kashmir.
Okay. All right, Congress
After
will
that,
decide.
Compare it to
I
10
don't
years
think
of reduction
you
in
should be
violence in
talking
Kashmir.
about,
Gentlemen,
talking about the
Congress and
calibrated,
BJP politics
calibrated
aside, Tariq
words
Azeem, join us
without
from London.
anything.
Kashmir.
Okay, Tariq Azeem, join us from London. You don't want to get involved in the domestic squabbling over this in India. We completely get that. But tell us, what is the response in Pakistan? Because many sort of bits of information that have been coming in also seem to indicate, you know, Kashmir wasn't a part of the joint statement today. There's been concerns over that raised in Islamabad. The idea of the DGMOs meeting, perhaps in somewhat of an institutionalized manner, although the sort of parameters haven't been worked out, indicating that, you know, the Pakistani military is also going to be finally on the table as far as these talks are concerned in a concrete way.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Tariq Azeem, if we can just bring in your responses. This is Barkha here with Maya. The question is that Nawaz Sharif has taken a risk. He has taken a political risk. The last time he was here at the swearing in of Prime Minister Modi, he went back and the Hawks gave him a tough time for not mentioning Kashmir. Today, once again, we see no public referencing of Kashmir, and many people believe Prime Minister Sharif's authority has considerably diminished since the last year with the army taking more and more power. Do you believe Prime Minister Sharif's political risk is one that he can carry off, especially on the Kashmir issue in Pakistan?
Well, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's stance on Kashmir is very clear. He mentioned it in the United Nations in very clear terms, which was not taken very kindly in India. So everybody knows his stance on Kashmir, and everybody must understand our stance, Pakistan's stance in India as well. My worry is the intelligence of India and the perpetual denial of ground realities by India does affect our relationships. If you deny that there is an issue like Kashmir, and by just closing your eyes, India, Kashmir will not go away. Kashmir is the main cause of our,
But it was not in the, it was not
countries,
referenced in the statement. It was not referenced in the statement, and many Pakistani commentators saying that Prime Minister Sharif will be given a tough time about this when he goes back home.
Well, I mean, I do not know what will happen, but certainly, I mean, we have seen in the past, that even if the things are mentioned, for example, you mentioned, we just heard the word Sharm el-Sheikh, when Manmohan Singh went back to India, I mean, he was given a very tough time because Balochistan was mentioned.
Yes,
now, of course, now today I was seeing your channel, and Congress party was also attacking BJP. I think whether it's Congress or BJP, still the stance would have been the same.
Or PMLN and PPP. But sir, you have the Fauj as a political party. यहाँ कांग्रेस बीजेपी की लड़ाई होती है, लेकिन हमारी फौज के साथ नहीं लड़ाई होती सर.
मुझे नहीं पता पीछे कौन है, but still there are other factors involved as well.
Okay.
So we can't ignore that either.
All right, Chandan Mitra, you wanted to quickly come in on what Tariq Azeem was saying. We've also got other guests from Pakistan joining in, but go ahead, Chandan, very quickly.
No, I was saying that, you see, this obsession with Kashmir, the fact is that the Kashmir issue has been kept alive by Pakistan by funding separatists and aiding and abetting terrorists from across the border. The Kashmir issue, Pakistan has kept alive, and they will continue to keep it alive. So I am very glad that some realism has dawned on the Pakistan leadership. Let Kashmir not come in the way of a larger improvement of ties between the two countries. The sooner Pakistan accepts that, I think it will be better for both countries.
Well, which is why the question has indeed begged itself, because as we said, Pakistani commentators are questioning the omission of Kashmir from the joint statement. The retired Air Vice Marshal Abid Rao also joining us from Karachi. Mr. Rao, I wanted to ask you, sir, this idea that there will be more contact at the military to military level, your comments on that?
Well, first let me tell you, the Prime Minister's meeting today, it was a welcome gesture for the entire 1.5 billion people of Indian and Pakistani subcontinent. But let me tell you, I found Indian media very skeptical and jittery about the future of this, whatever has been agreed today. Same thing is here in Pakistan, because Mr. Modi, what he has shown in last 13 months, that when he comes under pressure from foreign powers, like January, Mr. Obama asked him to talk to Pakistan. So the secretary level talks were resumed.
No, no, no,
Now,
one minute,
again,
one
there is a
minute, one
pressure
minute,
on
one
him.
minute, 1 minute.
No,
This
no,
is
no,
Sir
no,
Barkha
that's
here.
not correct.
1
Not
minute.
correct.
Are you
Please,
really
let
saying
me complete,
Washington?
let me complete.
Are you really saying Washington has got both countries to the table? I mean, I'm sure Chandan would take great objection to that, and maybe even Ajoy Kumar. I mean, I can't believe
Yes,
that.
I will
I
say
have
that.
to speak up here and say that you are making a sweeping statement here, sir. That the Prime Minister is
Absolutely.
taking
Yes.
his orders from Washington, and are you therefore suggesting so is Prime Minister Sharif?
Sharif, yeah.
And Barkha,
It is in Pakistan and
totally
India,
ridiculous.
both contexts, that when the
Irrespective
superpower
of the
tells
party,
you
this
to
is
talk
totally
to each other,
ridiculous.
India has always come forward.
No,
Second
this
thing is that, you know, the second opinion,
Hey,
this is
Marshal
one
Ahmed,
opinion,
this
the
is
second
absolutely
opinion
ridiculous.
is that
Ajoy and Chandan would be on the
We
same
stop
side,
talking
I
on
imagine, on this
Please,
one.
please
stop
Abid
talking
Rao
if you want.
Then you can
Sahab,
come with
this
your
is a hell of a
comments.
sweeping
Hey,
statement to
Marshal
make, sir.
Abid, you're absolutely totally out of reality
This
on
is
that.
ridiculous, not even worth replying to.
Yeah.
This is not worth
Absolutely.
replying to. They're completely.
I mean, how-
Second thing is,
How
Mr.
does
Modi
India
has-
decides when to speak and when not to speak?
Right.
India is a major.
Okay,
is a
you may not
major,
accept it.
not only
I'm
just
telling
a
you
regional power,
the perception
but
in
foreign
India will
Pakistan.
decide when
I
to
am
speak
telling
and not,
you the
when
don't take
not to
orders.
speak, sir.
We don't take orders.
You may not accept
do,
it,
and
fine.
you're welcome to that.
Please,
But
I
Barkha,
would
let
request
me
you,
speak.
please
Mr.
don't-
Rao,
Hey, Marshal,
you're
please
not
don't
just
make
talking
such, you know,
about-
ridiculous
as Barkha is
statements.
pointing out, Mr. Rao, you're not just talking about Prime Minister Modi taking his orders from Washington, which both the Congress and the BJP are taking extreme exception to. You're also making the same comment about your own Prime Minister. Do you, Tariq Azim, come in on this? Do you think that that's a valid analysis?
Listen, I'm just going to give you a matter of fact. What happened when the Modi Sahab rang Nawaz Sharif? It just so happened, maybe it's a coincidence, that Foreign Secretary Kerry called Narendra Modi Sahab, and after a few minutes, Modi Sahab picks up the phone and calls Nawaz Sharif. So you call it a coincidence, but that's a matter of fact.
So
that's
you're
what
saying
happens.
this is
And
an
same thing
Obama
happened
dictated
when
dialogue.
Obama had,
Tariq Azim Saab, you know, Pakistan takes
I would not say. I think
mean,
that
this is,
there
we
are
are
things.
sorry, we're losing
No,
the
let me
import
finish.
of what's happened
I'm
today
saying
with this
there are
trivialization.
people
the plot.
all over the world, the major powers in the world want peace in that region,
That
and
may be
everybody
the case.
recognizes
Major
that,
powers
except
in the
India.
world may want
that
peace in the
our
region.
We don't-
good
India
relation
doesn't
between
talk.
India and
Okay, let's
Pakistan
come
are
back.
good for the
I
region
mean,
and
I have
the
to
whole
say,
world.
Tariq Azim, we are missing the point here. Really, we can go on fighting
Okay.
about who
Barkha.
dictated it, who didn't, and I think Congress, BJP speaking as Indians today will say India will take its own decisions.
should
I would
welcome
hope
the dialogue. We should
Pakistanis,
welcome the
I would
BJP.
hope
We should welcome the
Pakistanis
BJP.
would say the same. General Shankar
And I find
Prasad,
that most-
please let's move on.
All right.
Please let's move on. General Shankar Prasad, military to military contact. Let's discuss what's on the table. How do you see the DGMOs meeting face to face, and what if it becomes a regular feature?
It's a very good idea. As Barkha said a short while ago, the DGMOs in any case talk on every Tuesday, once a week, on telephone and exchange what is going on the line of control in any matter that concerns the two countries. Let me just put the whole thing into perspective, having heard the BJP and the Congress and the Pakistan point of view. Where is this talk taking place? The talk is taking place in a situation where the SCO, whose objectives are very clear, and said clearly that we want Pakistan and India to become members of SCO, the objectives being counter-terrorism, the objective is being to stop drug trafficking, the objective being to have economic improvement in their people, the energy security. These are the 4 or 5 objectives of SCO, and both countries are likely to become members. So unless we follow the path of combating terrorism and
But
respect
sir, our
each other's
military,
territorial
our
integrity.
military, our military just doesn't
Yeah.
have the powers that the Pakistan
One minute,
military
one-
does.
Barkha, let me finish.
And therefore, why
Barkha.
do you think it's a good idea? Because
Barkha,
in the
let me finish.
past,
Barkha,
India
don't, please.
India has not accepted this proposal.
Barkha, let me finish.
Yes,
Barkha,
sir.
let
Yes,
me
sir.
finish.
Yes.
Barkha, let me finish.
Yes.
Please let me finish. So while you look at all of it, India comes plus on all these points, Pakistan comes negative on all these points. We also are aware that in Pakistan the military calls the shot. Now the issue today is this, that what Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Modi have agreed today is the DGMO talk, is the NSA meeting together, is the BSF and the Rangers. These are all very significant issues. Now the military would certainly like to talk about saying, why are you opening fire on the line of control every day? Why are you keeping 40 terrorist camps across the line of control? Why are you infiltrating people every day? Let's hear what the DGMO has to say. So a DGMO level talk is a good idea within the ambit of political directions.
Yeah.
It's a good idea for the NSS to meet. But let me clarify the issue. While the Prime Minister of Pakistan has made certain commitments to our Prime Minister today, which are all very good, is he capable of going back to Pakistan and getting his military to agree to all of that? But I want to remind you in particular, soon after 26/11, if you recall, and I'm sure you will recall, that Zardari, President of Pakistan, said within 24 hours the ISI chief will visit India and look into the Bombay attack. And what happened 36 hours later? The ISI chief was still told not to come. The army ruled the roost and said no way. So whether the NSS finally meet or not, whether the DGMOs finally talk or not,
anything
whether
could happen.
the DGs of BSF talk or not, is a matter to be seen.
All right.
But today it looks good. Today it looks fitting into the objectives of the SCO. It's a good movement. Doesn't matter what happened. The Chinese interest is there in seeing that this logistic corridor is made active. $46 billion are being invested there. The Russians, the Chinese, everybody wants this area to improve.
So we're coming back to the same point that everybody has a stake
Therefore,
in
that's a
peace
bigger
in the
picture
region.
today.
All right, sir. Now,
absolutely.
Fine, fair enough. Everybody has a stake in peace in the region, but ultimately it's India and Pakistan who need to sit at the table and call the shots. And I think that's what we need to stay on the message. The fact is that two leaders who have been estranged, for want of a better word, for the last year and a half, have decided to actually take a step to move things forward, and a very significant step. The substance of it aside, the politics of it is going to be interesting in the coming days as well. So, Sudhindra Kulkarni, come in on this. We've actually had comments from the Shiv Sena, for example. Uddhav Thackeray has said the Modi-Sharif meeting is unfortunate. The situation hasn't changed, but we had faith in Prime Minister Modi not to go ahead. And it's the point that Ajay Kumar was also making in the beginning, that, you know, the campaign plank of the NDA, of the BJP, has been a strident position against Pakistan. What has changed? Ultimately, that is a question that is going to have to be answered at the political level.
You know, it's truly an irony that today the Congress and the Shiv Sena are on the same page. You know, the Congress should actually be congratulating Prime Minister Modi on a very positive development in India-Pakistan relations. You know, something that the former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, tried during his 10-year tenure. It's also something that Vajpayee ji and Advani ji had tried, and therefore I'm very happy that Narendra Modi ji has followed a certain national consensus. It's a consensus in which the Congress and the BJP have been together as far as Pakistan is concerned. So therefore, the people of India, people of Pakistan should rejoice that there has been a positive movement.
Sudhindra Sudhindra, I question your phrase national consensus. You know, we are among those rational television anchors who believe that this is a positive development. But the fact of the matter is that the BJP, when it has suited it in the past, has played to the bombast of hyper-nationalist television anchors who have, you know, said that Mr. Modi is going to draw new red lines with Pakistan. When General VK Singh attended the Pakistan Annual Day, the High Commission, you know,
it became an unnecessary controversy.
I mean, even VK Singh expressed his own public opposition to it. So the fact of the matter is that there are media jingoists in this country, and there are BJP leaders who have agreed with that jingoism. So isn't that contradiction something that needs to be discussed?
You know, we need to strengthen this national consensus. Sometimes, you know, we make mistakes. Even the Modi government made a mistake by drawing a red line in August 2014, calling off the talks. And now, I'm very happy that the talks have resumed, not just at the Foreign Secretary level, but between the two Prime Ministers.
Right.
And a very important breakthrough. And I think potentially this is the biggest foreign policy achievement of Prime Minister Modi.
Right, Chandan, actually come in on that, because
I won't know.
Yeah, so Sudhindra Kulkarni is making the point that the Modi government made a mistake in August by doing what it did. What they have done today is essentially undo a critical error.
Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni is a distinguished public intellectual and is entirely entitled to his views. And while I have often agreed with him, today I think he's going a bit too far. I don't think that such an important development has happened. We are moving, as I said at the outset, step by step, calibrated, We shall
Sir,
put
it's not
Pakistan on
calibrated,
test.
Chandan.
Let us see.
But Chandan, if it was calibrated,
Yeah, it
you
is
would have
calibrated.
resumed.
We'll
Chandan,
move
if it was
step by step.
calibrated, Chandan,
Step by step.
Chandan, 1 minute. If it was calibrated, you would have just
received
announced the
signs,
resumption
yeah.
of Foreign Secretary talks. You have gone well beyond that. You have had military to military contact, NSA to NSA. The Prime Minister accepting an invitation to go to Pakistan. How is this calibrated? It's reasonably dramatic.
No, I think these things were all in the pipeline, had to happen sooner or later. I mean, because we are trying to have better relations, but till such time as Pakistan clamps down on the terror factories inside its territory, and till such time as it stops aiding and abetting separatists in Kashmir, there cannot be any lasting peace with Pakistan. We all know that. And the Modi government will stick to that position. So there is nothing to get overexcited or hyper optimistic about what has happened today. Is a very good beginning, and I hope it continues on these lines, and Pakistan realizes a few things and knows that if they stick to the letter and spirit of the agreement today, things will move forward. If not, they won't.
Air Marshal Abid Rao, I want to bring you in, and then Ajoy briefly on Air Marshal Abid Rao. Do you believe Prime Minister Sharif has the political mandate to pursue peace, or do you believe that he has been diminished in the last year? There is a lot of interest in India as to whether there's any point even in talking to Nawaz Sharif, and maybe that's why often people who think out of the box say eventually India will have to engage with the Pakistan military.
Last year also, Barkha, in one of your programs, you asked the same question. I then also said the same thing, that Indian attitude needs to strengthen Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's hands to make peace, instead of casting these allegations after allegations and cancelling these talks and secretary level talks and not meeting here or there, and even having a debate on 2-3 of your channels whether in September the two Prime Ministers should have met last year or even before that. You see, it is so essential that these two Prime Ministers should continue to meet, despite whatever objections, whatever observations people back home have on that. Unfortunately, Mr. Modi has carried an agenda of hate, Pakistan, drawing red lines, teaching a lesson to Pakistan. That doesn't work with most of our quarters, particularly the military.
All right.
And that needs to be avoided. Therefore, I am personally very happy for this meeting to have taken place, and I am hopeful, and I wish that things follow in the most positive manner.
On that, there is consensus across the board that it's certainly something that one should be sort of waiting and watching. It's a hopeful move today. But Ajay Kumar, the Congress, obviously, as we were pointing out earlier, in its role as opposition, is bringing in that tone of skepticism. Should you not just openly and wholeheartedly accept this dialogue process? Forget what Prime Minister Vajpayee did in his time. This is also a continuation, in a sense, of 10 years of UPA's engagement with Pakistan.
Yeah. True.
See, first of all,
if you just allow me,
assure Mr. Kulkarni.
Let
me assure Mr. Kulkarni that the Congress is happy. Let me assure Mr. Kulkarni and all of you that the Congress is happy that the dialogue is happening, and that's a bright step. What scares us is the flip-flop. Senior ministers make something 1 month back, they say something, ministers keep sending, they seem to be playing the mridangam with both their hands. I'll give you an example. What happened even in China, the last trip, they said it was fantastic. The Global News, which is the unofficial spokesperson for the Chinese, came out and said something very totally different. So we are happy they're speaking. But this kind of jingoism, now the BJP spokesperson, I mean, leave Chandan, but a lot of them have gone on TV saying, historic talk, this joint statement was historic, never happened before in the history of India. This kind of thing is what leads to lack of seriousness.
Chandan, can I ask you to come in on that? I think that's a fair point by Ajoy. I think that's a fair, the hyperbole, that we lurch between historic and evil. It's, there's no rationalism in this conversation about India-Pakistan. But I think Ajoy raises the important point that when Colonel Rajyavardhan Rathore comes on television and says that, the Myanmar operation is a warning to Pakistan, hot pursuit is possible there. General VK Singh cribs about attending a Pakistan High Commission function, even tweets about it. That time, the Twitter army of the BJP is saying, "Wah, we are nationalists."
No, as recently Sushma Swaraj, who made the comment about Lakhvi's bail, saying we will not speak to Pakistan until he's back in jail. Why make these comments if you're not going to be able to sustain them? Because going forward, as Barkha was pointing out, and I have to agree with her, Chandan, because calibrated means step by step. There's nothing step by step about today's announcement.
No, that's your interpretation. I don't agree. I think today's is part of that calibration. But to answer the other question, Barkha, you have named very senior and mature BJP ministers who are responsible people,
yes,
who have made statements or whatever they have said. You know, they can defend themselves. I am not in a position either to talk about this or not. You must ask them.
That's
Obviously,
fair.
they had good reason to say what they did.
No, that's fair, Chandan. We can't make you answer for their hyperbolic comments, but we're just pointing out to the contradiction. Sudhindra, would you agree that the BJP found itself trapped, as sometimes happens in politics, by its own rhetoric?
You know, sometimes because of this ultra-nationalism, both on the Pakistani side as well as Indian side, you know, we create traps for ourselves, and it becomes difficult to come out of the trap. And what is really good is that the two prime ministers have come out of the trap in a very solid way. And I want to draw your attention to something very important that has not come in today's discussion. You know, the joint statement says that the two governments agreed, two leaders agreed to cooperate with each other to eliminate this menace from South Asia, condemn terrorism in all forms and cooperate with each other to eliminate this menace from South Asia. You know, implicit in this is the recognition that terrorism is a common threat to both India and Pakistan, and that both India and Pakistan are victims of terrorism.
But that's a paradigm shift in the BJP argument.
No, this is a paradigm shift.
It may be a wonderful statement, but it's a paradigm shift in the BJP's own politics.
No, but you see, what it means is a recognition of the fact that even Pakistan is a victim of terrorism.
No, I agree with you.
India is agreeing to this.
That's not been BJP position.
No, Prime Minister Modi is agreeing to this. No.
Chandan,
what I want to say, please, let me just complete one thought. Let me complete one thought, Chandan. You see, all along we are saying that Pakistan is only a perpetrator of terrorism. What this also shows is that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism. In the last 10 years, more than 50,000 people in Pakistan have been killed by terrorists.
The point the Pakistanis
And the Pakistani army chief says that terrorism is the biggest threat, biggest enemy. Now, this is a recognition of realism, which is very positive.
Chandan, in acceptance.
I don't think today is the first day.
Sorry, go ahead, Chandan.
You see, I have to point out that Pakistan is both a victim and perpetrator of terrorism.
Yes.
Terrorism is being perpetrated on Pakistan by various Taliban and other extremist factions, and now even the IS has joined the queue, while Pakistan is perpetrating terrorism on India.
But Chandan, I think the point, the question that's being asked, Chandan, is the fact that the Pakistanis have said for a long time that they are also victims of terror, of homegrown terror, of factions within Pakistan. They have been saying that to India at every forum. For the BJP to look at Pakistan not just as a perpetrator but also as a victim is what we are asking you. Is that a paradigm shift within the BJP? How are you going to explain it to your party?
For us, the big concern.
Sorry?
No. For us, the big concern, for India, the big concern is Pakistan as the perpetrator of terrorism. Because that is what is affecting us. Hundreds and thousands of our people have been killed by terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani trained and sponsored terrorists. Now, is that a bigger problem for us, or is Pakistan's the suffering at the hands of the Taliban is a bigger problem? We are suffering, our boys are dying, our Jawans are dying. That is a bigger problem, and obviously we will highlight that first, while at the same time acknowledging that yes, Pakistan too may sometimes be a victim of terrorism, and therefore all the more reason why they must stop aiding and abetting.
One more issue on
we
this.
have to take a very quick break. We'll come back in just a couple of minutes. Also joining us after that, the former Deputy NSA and former diplomat Leela Ponnappa will also join us. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to the Buck Stops here. We are discussing that critical joint statement between India and Pakistan in Russia this morning. Leela Ponnappa, former diplomat, joining us as well. Ms. Ponnappa, many people say that, a lot goes into the preparation of an India-Pakistan meeting, no matter which part of the world it takes place in and at what level that meeting is taking place. today's announcements in that joint statement, given that they come without much expectation or much hope, in fact, the messages that were coming were don't expect a resumption of dialogue, etc. It depends on the outcomes. We're looking at outcomes that were beyond anybody's expectation. What diplomacy went into this?
Well, I think if you analyze the joint statement, you'd be able to see that in some cases the takeaways are in areas where there's already interaction and it's not very new. In certain other areas, there's an attempt to try to break a log jam. I would say at best this is a building block or an episodic milestone of the kind that one passes when prime ministers meet without a formal summit, without the kind of even more intensive preparation when there are hard negotiations going on either side. So they met. Obviously, certain issues were raised by both sides. And I think the lowest common denominator is what you have over here.
But Leela, if I may interrupt you, ma'am, if I may interrupt you, Barkha here, I would venture to argue that I think the countries are beginning to acknowledge that the composite dialogue template has outlived its utility, and what we're seeing here is an experimentation with new mechanisms. Like, we don't know whether the DGMO's meeting is one-off, will it be every year? We don't know if the NSAs will be put down as every year. Are you not seeing some new experimentation here, Ms. Punappa?
Well, the NSAs first met in 2008, in October 2008, when Major General Durrani came to India. I think perhaps you were at some of the events at that time.
Yes, I do remember that.
Within a month, the Mumbai, and we thought through candid discussion that perhaps there was the glimmer of understanding that was starting. A month later, the Mumbai attacks took place. In January, General Durrani on television admitted to Kasab being a Pakistani national.
And then he was sacked.
And he was promptly sacked.
He was sacked.
And he was promptly sacked. Now, when Mr. Sartaj Aziz comes here, does it mean that we are going to see further action on perhaps getting back some of the offenders that we have been asking Pakistan for several years? What action will we see? That's really the issue. One can discuss terrorism in an academic sense, and I mean, all this talk of a new definition and so on is neither here nor there. In actual fact, the statement in on terrorism in today's joint statement pretty much echoes what was said, for example, at Sharm el-Sheikh.
No, that's true. All statements tend to make the same point about, but General Shankar Prasad.
So the NSA's meeting is not really breaking new ground. Likewise, the BSF and Park Rangers talking to each other. Perhaps at the DG level, these meetings have not been very frequent. But they are certainly in daily contact at the border. DGMOs talk on the phone. They have not made very much progress. But if a meeting helps, I certainly hope it does.
General Shankar Prasad is bringing you in on that.
Trying.
I find that the most interesting part, the DGMOs. General Shankar Prasad, you said it's a great idea.
No, but Barkha, I have a last point. I have a last point. And that is 8 years after the Mumbai attacks, to talk about expediting the trial is, I think, a bit of a travesty, because the trial has gone through contortions in terms of the prosecutors, in terms of the judges changing, recusing themselves and so on and so forth. It does not inspire confidence.
General Shankar Prasad, very quickly, we start taking last comments from everybody. Why do you think the DGMOs is a great idea? Leela Punappa, putting some water on the excitement of expectations from the joint statement today.
It's a good idea because we're going to be able to talk about what happens on the line of control and how the militants are being infiltrated across the line of control. I just want to make one diversion to what has not been discussed in today's debate. Also remember, there are talks taking place in Murray perhaps between Afghanistan and Pakistan Taliban. All about fighting terrorism. So the overall issue is how to combat terrorism at the NSA level, at the military level of the DGMO. While I have been a party to DGMO's talks on telephone every Tuesday when I was posted in the MO Directorate, that is something that happens on a daily routine. There's nothing very strategic about it. Now the DGMO's talk is about 40 terrorist camps, infiltration across the line of control, exchange of fire along the line of control, casualties on both sides, infiltration inside, all of those things. Therefore, if the two DGMOs can sit, I do not know whether finally they will or they will not, but if they can sit and bring to table these issues, then the military in Pakistan will also have in some way brought onto the table, which so far has been away.
Exactly.
All day. All right, final comments. Chandan Mitra, I want to ask you, Leela Ponnappa has made the point that in fact was being made earlier in the day that on terrorism, there's not much substantially different from what came out at Sharm el-Sheikh. At that point in time, you wanted Manmohan Singh to step down, the National Security Advisor to step down. There was a hue and cry in Parliament over Sharm el-Sheikh. Today, it's essentially, in substance, the same thing.
Minus Baluchistan.
No, this is not true at all. This is not true at all. You see, what Mrs. Ponnappa has talked about is the definition of terrorism. Now, this definition of terrorism is something that actually Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee made when he talked about terror in all its manifestations many years ago. So, this is nothing unique. But the first time in an India-Pakistan joint statement, this terror in all its manifestations or terrorism in all its forms has been put down on paper. This is a move forward. Sharm el-Sheikh was a sharam ki baat for us because we conceded, Dr. Manmohan Singh conceded that India had something to do with Balochistan. Now this is something which set back India's well-known policy of non-interference in other countries.
We're running out of time. Ajay Kumar, final comments from you.
Is a really low point in India's diplomatic
Ajay Kumar, final comments.
You know, first of all, I don't want to read history to Chandan, but that's their interpretation of Balochistan, and I definitely would like to disagree with him very, very strongly. And what Ms. Ponnappa said is correct, but important part is there are five people on this panel, and all of who are not members of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So I want to say that to Chandan, the BJP keeps saying about nationalism. Everybody else is as nationalist as them, and request the government less cacophony from the party and the government, and less fireworks and some serious measured actual steps instead of, confusing the people in this country.
In fact, thanks Ajay Kumar. That's a good point for us to end this debate on as well. Less cacophony, less jingoism, more consensus, as Sudhindra Kulkarni was pointing out as well.
And more realism, more realism.
More realism. All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you all very much for watching. We're going to take a quick break and come back with the launch of the PSLV, so please stay tuned.